And just like that, man, week 16, it's finally over. Now we're heading into week 17. We got some new faces. We got some familiar faces. We got, of course, Kendall Whitley, East West Football. We got Javier Zuniga from the Cowboy Cast. Gentlemen, we got some special guests, right? We got Zim from okay, it's Cincinnati, but with the W on there. Let me bring on Zim.
Let him say it. Let him say it.
For me, man.
Cincinnati. Instead of Cincinnati, just Wincinnati. How you doing, guys?
Man,
Hey,
it's
doing
awesome.
pretty good, man.
We're gonna talk a little bit about Bengals for just to kind of clarify. We want to talk Bengals first, and then we're gonna do a week 16 recap. Ace, you're gonna chill for the whole week 16 with us?
I'll try to. I do have some family coming in town, so I might have to dip out a little early, but I'll let you guys know.
Hey, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, right? For first and foremost, so if anybody's watching you guys for the first time, who wants to take over? Zim or Ace? Who do you got? Who wants to take over? Ace.
That's cool. I got you.
Tell us, man, what's up? What's going on? Where can we go and tune in to find the best Bengals content right now on the YouTube?
Yeah, you could definitely find it on the Wincinnati Podcast. That's WINCINNATI Podcast. You put that in, you'll be able to find us there. You can also find us wherever you listen to your podcast at, whether that's Apple, Stitcher, wherever that is. You can find us there. But yeah.
And like you said, right, like Cincinnati, let's talk about them. Right now, you guys are ahead in the division, man. You guys are what, 11-4 right now?
Yes, sir. 11-4. We're trying to get that. We're trying to get that 1 seed, right? Then we're trying to see what we can do to get that 1 seed.
We need to get that 1 seed. The Bengals haven't lost in 2 months of action. I haven't come on our show and talked about a Bengals loss in over 2 months. They went undefeated in the month of November and December, early in the season. Even if you go look at those games, 3 games decided by 3 walk-off field goals, never been done before in the NFL history. So we're talking about just a total of, I mean, what is it, like 1 point, 2 point, and a 3-point victory or whatever? Like crazy stuff like at the beginning of the season. But the Bengals got right, and we've been rolling ever since, and 100% coming for that number 1 seed, defending AFC champion, defending AFC North champion. It is what it is.
Hey, as much as it hurts me to say, I know we just played the boys a few days ago or whatnot, but the Bengals, I don't think they get the credit they deserve. Everybody want to talk about the offense and Jamar Chase, Higgins, Boyd, but they forget about their defense. Their defensive coach is really good. The defense is really good. It's a bunch of guys that we haven't really heard of, but they're top deep. They're a good defense. They deep. They're talented, and they play with a chip on their shoulder. Anytime you can beat Mahomes 3 times in a row. And we know that's hard to do that. Anytime you can do that, and the way they've done it, they really control those games. And people, I just don't think that defense, I don't think their defense get a lot of credit. Everybody, we like the flash and scoring points and stuff, but their defense has played a lot. I would think they'd be what they'd be today without their defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, me and Zim have always talked about it. I remember going into the playoffs when we would jump in these Twitter spaces, a lot of people wouldn't talk about the defense, and we would tell them, like, our defense is pretty good. Like, we'd always hear about their defense, or they'd talk about Jamar Chase, but we'd always tell them, like, yeah, this defense really is where it's at. And I think that they did a lot in the playoffs last season. And me and Zim talked about this on our pod last year, but early on in the season, even last year, the defense was always kind of the consistent unit, and the offense was a little inconsistent. Like, you're starting to kind of see both of them get consistent this year, which is why I think that that's kind of spilled over into success. But I think that the defense is super underrated. Like, a lot of people say that there's not big names, but it's like, I remember when we signed DJ Reader, I always thought DJ Reader was a big name, even before he became a Bengal. You talk about Trey Henderson. This was a dude that was on the NFL top 100 the last 2 years. You talk about Cheeto, who you guys from the Cowboys know. He came in, has definitely established himself. Von Bell came over from the Saints. So just a lot of guys that just really lose scheme, and I feel like they're just cooking right now.
And Logan Wilson, I think, one of the best underrated linebackers. If there was an award for which linebacker doesn't get enough, you could say Juwan Bentley from the Patriots, but I like Logan Wilson.
Tell him about Pratt too, Zim. Tell him about Pratt.
Bengals are stacked, bro. Like, one of the concepts that I think a lot of people talk about as Bengals fans or people that don't want the Bengals to win, they be like, how they going to pay all these guys? And, taking a page from the book of the Patriots says you're not going to be able to retain everybody. Our defense was created because of the misfortunes or how weak we looked after getting the doors blown off of us in 2019 to the Baltimore Ravens. They go to the draft 3 linebackers, and they hit on all 3 of them. And they're now like 3 very good, like 2 of them are premier linebackers in the league. I think they're a top 3 linebacking group in all the National Football League. When you couple that with the fact that DJ Reader is probably the best nose tackle in football right now, it just makes it so that the linebackers are able to play clean. The cornerbacks, we did lose the starting cornerback, Chidobe Awuzie, who is super, super underrated. We got him from the Cowboys, but since he had been with the Cowboys, had been the second lowest rated passing rating allowed in the National Football League. He was the number 1 pro football focused cornerback last year. He goes out for the season. We still regroup. The scheme of Lou Anarumo is made to funnel everything to the safeties and a lot of zone concepts. So guys like Eli Apple and stuff are having the best season of their career. This past week, he didn't give up a catch. He didn't give up a catch when we played the Chiefs 2 weeks ago also as well, too. And a lot of his scheme, a lot of it's the talent that that these guys were having. Like, this is a first-round talent. So there's so many things like on this team that I think most Bengals fans have walked away from. Who's your top 5? Who's your top 10? I'm very excited about the fact that I think that they have a really good kicker. They have a really good defense, and I feel like they got the best weapons in as far as their wide receiver. And then who knows where you got Joe Burrow ranked, but he's a really good quarterback, and he's really good for the city too.
So I know me and Harvey have a ton of questions for you guys, just overall, right? Obviously, we've seen the success, but I have a question about you guys' quarterback, right? Because I mean, those that know me for a while, and know me, I love me some Joe Burrow, right? And even when you see mainstream media put him up there in the top tier of quarterbacks, I know, are you guys familiar with it? Where I'm going with this, right? Somebody put out a list recently, and it had, I believe it was Patrick Mahomes. It was Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I believe they gave Joe Burrow was the 4th. I forgot who the other quarterback is, but my question is, how good does it feel to have, especially, for your team, the Bengals, right? How good is that feeling if you can just sum it up for me, man? Because for whatever reason, nobody wants to give Dak any kind of credit at all. But for you guys, how does it feel to have a elite quarterback under helm for the Bengals?
It feels amazing, bro. Like, honestly, we felt like we've had this guy since day one, because when he stepped on the field, and I know that sounds crazy, but in 2020, if you were actually watching the Bengals like we were as fans, you knew that the dude was special the day that he stepped on the field. He didn't look like a rookie. You got to remember, too, it was during COVID. Like, there was no kind of contact with anybody. This dude in his first game really should have had like a storybook start to his career with a walk-off touchdown where he comes back, brings the Bengals back. He makes the throw to AJ Green. AJ Green gets called for a push-off. And it's like, this dude doesn't look like a rookie, like at all. Like, we've seen Carson Palmer. We've seen Andy Dalton. We've seen all of the quarterbacks from around the league, because me and Zim really champion going after and getting that elite quarterback. When we saw Joe the first year, it's crazy. We were telling everybody in the offseason, like, if this dude gets talent around him, he's going to cook. Like, he doesn't look like a normal dude. And I think with Zim, we even said that he was a top 10 quarterback, and people were looking at us like we were crazy. They were like, what do you mean? This dude just only won 2 games the year before. And we knew with where the offense was going, and if they were able to get the protection, that he was just going to be a special quarterback. And we just always kind of had our sights on the Chiefs. Like, we always said, you can't beat the Chiefs with Andy Dalton. Like, you got to come to the game with weapons. You got to come with an elite quarterback. And I just felt like Joe, from the mindset, like, yeah, he can be the top 5 guy, but it's really the mindset and the leadership and how he inspires and influences the whole team that I think takes them to another level. So I think when you have a top 5 quarterback like that, I would think Zim would think the same. You just feel like you always have a chance with number 9.
You always have a chance, bro. Like the one of the most underappreciated stories I think in the National Football League is Joe Burrow's rookie season. The COVID stuff that happened, he comes in and the roster is bad. They put a lot on his plate where a lot of guys that we're watching in the league would have folded. Didn't give him that many resources. First time coach, all these different things. He had us in every single game. We played the 5-2 Titans, who went on to go to the playoffs and everything. Like, destroyed them with like. And we went and got an offensive line like off the streets, like Quentin Spain and stuff, like COVID and all this stuff was that. He just took brand new 5 guys, said line it up, and they beat the dog crap out of these dudes, and it was so masterful. And then moving forward, like a game or two later, he tears his knee up. And everything happens for a reason, and then we get and then the unorthodox notion, normally teams go and get wide receivers through free agencies like the Tyreek Hills, the Devontae Adams and stuff. The Bengals had T. Higgins, who also in that first season, he wasn't the starter. He was coming behind AJ Green and probably didn't get his first start until like week 5 and still had over 900 something yards. Then you already have a number 1 wide receiver. You already got a hypothetical, like kind of like a number 1 in Tyler Boyd, who himself already had 2,000-yard campaigns. Then they go to the draft and say, I'm going to go get another number 1 wide receiver. Teams don't do that. And if somebody could show me that in the history of football, so when we put all those weapons on the field, then everybody is like so surprised. People disvalue the focus of youth and how important that is in the NFL. Literally, you draft guys and then you're giving them a 4-year contract almost guaranteed because the name of the game is like you. To get 3 guys in their prime of their career, 21, 22, and Tyler Boyd at 25 years old, and say, all right, y'all go figure it out. And then the coach got better. All these different things got better. Joe Burrow wins comeback player of the year and goes to a Super Bowl. His first full season is insane. No other quarterback in the history of football has ever been the most sacked, had the highest completion percentage, and thrown for the highest yards per attempt in an NFL season ever. It like when people were trying to take away stuff from Burrow, I would be the main person. Like, nah, you got to take a look at these games. Like, he's incredible. I think he makes the defense better, and everybody around him, they're better. And whenever we get in the jam, like, he always gets us back. Like, if you go, even in our losses, he always brings them back. And even when we played the Cowboys, think about that game. We're down 14 points. Comes back second half, makes his adjustment, ties the ball game up. He does it. You can't show me a game where he just gets like, if they lose, it's a blowout, couple turnovers early, something like we had on the Browns game or something like that. But if the game is within reach, he is a nightmare, like, for opposing teams. So that's the way we feel about Joe. It's like you always got a chance and you're always in the game. And it is one of the greatest things. It helps me with my life. I always feel like I can't lose now. Like, I got Burrow, bro. And if you've ever been a fan of Tom Brady, you could tell somebody that feeling. If you've ever been a fan of Joe Montana, you could tell somebody that feeling. If you don't got that quarterback, it's hard for you to convey that to somebody. They would be like, but he threw a pick, and it'd be like, shut up. Like, it's Joe Burrow. Like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to win. And every step of the way, go watch some playoff games. He got sacked 9 times, gets up and throws a dart on 3rd and 20, and it goes to kick a game-winning field goal. And every step of the way, he just did that over and over and over again. He's unflappable. When we won last week, I was going to tell you this, Kendall, he was pissed. They gave him a game ball. He was mad that they didn't perform to the level that he wanted in the second half. He was angry, took the game ball, and was like, all right, whatever. Was pissed. He's like a robot, bro.
The thing that shocks me about the Bengals is we know the Bengals and the Browns, they've been the bottom 2 teams in the AFC North. You got Baltimore, you got Pittsburgh, and Baltimore and Pittsburgh really have owned that division for the past two decades or whatnot. But the Bengals, not only have they last year won the division, they've been beating up the teams in the division. They said, we ain't gonna stop there. We want the whole AFC. So they've got out division. Now they beating the Bengals and the Patriots, and they got the Bills. That's a big Monday night game next. We'll talk about later on, but they got the Bills next Monday. So we have yet to see Joe Burrow going up against the Bills and Josh Allen. This will be a pretty good game. But now in the AFC, you got Cincinnati, you got Kansas City, Buffalo, and then it's everybody else. It's clear. So that's the thing that just like last year in the playoffs, the Bengals, they beat the Titans, and people thought, well, if the Bengals make the playoffs and whatnot, they'd be satisfied with that. But they won, they kept going, and they came a play or two of winning the Super Bowl last year. And they're a young team, and I mean, I just think the sky's the limit for this Bengals team. And like I said before, we started whatnot. That defense doesn't get enough credit. And I mean, I think they're probably the favorites right now. I can't wait to see this Buffalo matchup next Monday night.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is
it hates me to say it though, but yeah, they like that.
A lot of people lump us in with the Browns, but it's like when you really look at the last 2 decades, the Bengals have been good for a while. They just never won the playoff games. Like the Browns weren't going to the playoffs at all. There were some teams that won AFC North championships and stuff like that. Even if you actually look at the head-to-head between us and the Ravens, it's very close between both of us. So like there's always
AFC North championships, three in the last 10 years. They got 3 AFC North championships. We got 3 AFC North championships. Pittsburgh has 4.
And we've had teams where we felt like they were good enough to possibly get to a bowl or something like that. They just couldn't put it together. The 2015 Bengals, the 2005 Bengals with Carson Palmer. It's always been a division like, we always feel like it's one of the toughest divisions in football because you do have the Steelers, you do have the Ravens, you had the Bengals and you had the Browns, and it kind of came a little bit, I feel like, of a changing of the guard in like 2020. That's when things kind of erupted a little bit. 2019, when the Browns end up getting Baker and OBJ, and that shakes up stuff in the division. Ben's starting to get old, and you got Lamar Jackson doing his thing. And I remember when I saw those dudes and we had Andy Dalton, I was like, we got to change this up, bro, because we need to get a dude that can compete with these other teams. And I felt like in 2020, I got to look at the rest of the division and I saw like we have what is the future now. Like when you have a younger, better quarterback, you're always at an advantage. So now I think this decade is going to flip because you got Lamar kind of on the outs with the Ravens. Whether they move on from him or not, that's to be desired. And then you don't know what they're doing after him. And then you got the Steelers right now. They got Kenny Pickett, so they don't have Ben Roethlisberger, who they had, for the most part, those 2 decades. So now you're looking at the Joe Burrow kind of era. And now even if you look at Cleveland, they got Deshaun Watson now. Like technically these 2 teams now that might have been looked at as 3rd and 4th in the division can really this decade be the top 2 teams in the division. So it's definitely dope to see, and it's definitely a new era, and it's cool to see things starting to pan out because I always felt like we had the teams and the talent. We just never had the quarterback. Like Andy Dalton wasn't that guy. Carson Palmer, after the elbow injury and the knee injury, he just wasn't that guy really. Now we got the guy, and now it's just time to go out here and put it together. And I think, like you said, another major key was Tom Brady leaving the AFC. Like Tom Brady leaving the AFC and going to the NFC just really opened it up. And I think the Chiefs felt like it was theirs for the taking, and Joe Burrow and the Bengals was like, hold on, nah, not yet, just not y'all's yet. So I think between us, the Bills, and the Chiefs, I think the AFC is in good hands, but there's a lot of other teams coming, man. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of these young quarterbacks now in the AFC, if you don't got one of them dudes, you're not going to be doing anything really in the playoffs. Like you got to go against a Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, a Justin Herbert, Pat Mahomes.
You gotta have that dude. Yeah, you gotta have that dude.
You gotta have that dude in the AFC.
And you gotta have pieces around him too. Talking about my Patriots, but yeah, you gotta have pieces around him.
For sure.
Hey, real quick, I'm not so much a question, but for Zim and Ace, I know Zim's got to go. I don't want to keep you long, but this is my thing, right? I'm a big quarterback guy because I played quarterback. Right. So my thing was, this is the thing, man. I knew this guy was special. Let me tell you why real quick. And you guys already know this. But to me, it's how you handle adversity. Right? When everything is going so wrong for you. And when you consistently in this league as a young quarterback throw receivers open, that's a difference between throwing to an open receiver and throwing them open, right? And you're landing and you're on your back every time. That's what I'm like, you know what? This is the guy, man. And it's going to be scary. It's going to be very scary And I said it a couple of shows ago, didn't I, Jerry? Whoever meets Cincinnati in the AFC Championship, bless their heart, because they're going to have a lot of issues. And another thing that told me that this guy is just unbelievable. When Jamar Chase was gone, let's see what he's really got, right? Let's see what he's really got. That's going to tell us a lot. And he's not failed, man. No questions. I'll just leave it at that.
Nah, for sure, bro. And it was funny because, like me and Zim kind of said at the beginning of the show, a lot of people didn't see that, right? Which I don't blame you. You're not going to watch a 4-win team, in 2020, right? But me and Zim had seen it. We had seen it without Jamar Chase. We had seen him with AJ Green that had lost a little bit of a step, a rookie T. Higgins, like him having Auden Tate and doing these things that Justin Herbert really did, but he got hurt, so a lot of people didn't see it. Like I remember seeing him being on pace with like Andrew Luck, like, oh, he's
bro. He was when he got injured, he was on pace for 4,700 yards, and he was a shoo-in for the rookie of the year. Like people don't remember that part. When we played the Chargers, Herbert wasn't even starting yet. Like they still had Tyrod, so it's kind of crazy how that whole part like kind of came out there. But I'm with you, man.
Adversity is where it's at for sure.
That's exactly how I look at him. As like he just fought through so much, and it's kind of like how the Bengals. I look at our fans. It's like you had to fight through a bunch of stuff to get to this point, to be able to hold your head up and and then confidently say like we feel good about winning this game and all this different thing. Like so I was one of the guys like when we weren't winning that much. Still had some good messages in there or whatever, but I ain't gonna lie to the people like, hey, like you're good or you're not. And when they are good, I'm one of the loudest when they are good. But like if they stink or they suck or whatever, I'll be quick to let you know. But it's crazy though, like now that he's there, it does change up a lot of the dynamics of it. And then just like all the great quarterbacks in the history of football, they just put resources around them year after year after year. Sometimes we run into people, they say, well, if you didn't have those weapons, but what quarterback, like that's what the NFL is about. Like, go get your guy. You got to, like even Brady at some point, that Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, whether it was Randy Moss, whether it was Wells, like name your quarterback that like Peyton had Marvin Harrison. Montana had Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Brent Jones. And all the great Roger Craig and all that stuff. Like, so if you really study the game of football, like you can't this whole and I call it and one football. It's like who got the best crossover on ESPN or whatever. Like the highlight stuff is really cool. And throwing for 400 yards is really cool, but it's not a sustainable thing. Like the great quarterbacks, their front office were smart enough to put resources behind them. And that's the one thing that the Bengals were just banking on, continuously making sure that they draft well and making sure that they put the right resources around them. And so far they're doing good.
So you guys already clinched, right? So what's the game plan against the Bills? And then you guys ended off with the Ravens, right? So you guys clinched, and I mean,
we want the number one seed. What you mean? Clinching is not enough.
Clinching is cool.
I need you to tell us. Does it look like you guys are all in? Nobody's gonna be like set out. It's all in.
We're all in, bro. We're going for the number one seed for sure.
Monday night, you're gonna get a ball game. Like if you hadn't seen Burrow, like straight up like a full Monday night, gonna be fireworks. Telling you that right now.
They're gonna be ready. They definitely gonna be ready. They had this one marked on the calendar because the other thing about this team is they've been used to being doubted. You got to think like throughout that whole run last year, everyone was telling them that they shouldn't have been there. They were gonna be out that round. They got lucky by getting to the Super Bowl. Then after they get to the Super Bowl, all they hear in the offseason is that it's a fluke. Buffalo's the number one team, even though they lost to the same team Cincinnati beat, that they haven't been able to get past 2 years in a row. And, earlier in the season, everybody's hearing regression and this and that. 0-2 teams don't make the playoffs and all of this and that. So this team kind of has a chip on their shoulder. And when they get to play in these games against the Chiefs and the Bills, they're like, okay, you can say all of that, but when it's time to actually line it up against this team, it's going to be a good one. So I think, obviously, the matchup that I'm looking for is our defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, who I don't think gets enough credit, versus Josh Allen. I know he's going to have all kind of mind games that he's going to try to play with Josh Allen, where he's going to show him something in the first half. Second half, he's going to go away from it. But obviously, you want to contain him, try to stop the run. Stephon Diggs, you want to try to definitely minimize him in this game because that's his guy. And then you're probably going to see us use a guy that we call Trey Flowers. I think he's like a 6'3" corner. He usually plays a lot of those.
Seattle. I think he was in Seattle with the Seahawks.
Yeah, he was in Seattle. We have a role for him on playing tight end, so you'll see him on Dawson Knox. You'll see us try to get pressure with 4. Offensively, we're going to put all the pressure on you. We're going to go to our weapons. We're going to see how you're going to play them. If you try to double Jamar Chase, we're going to go to T. If you try to mess with T, we're going to go to Chase. We're going to go to Tyler Boyd. We're going to go to a lot of these weapons. And then if you're trying to stop our pass, we're going to hit you with the run with Joe Mixon, or he can catch a couple passes.
That's what I wanted to ask you. How big of a loss is Lionel Collins, that injury?
Lyle Collins, we were actually just talking about this. He actually struggled a lot this season, if we're just being honest. Like, I don't know if it was the back injury or what it was, but he really has a lot of people have kind of called him the weak point of the offensive line from a pass protection standpoint. From a run game perspective, he was really good in finding his own. He had some flashes here and there where he kind of looked like the guy that we expected him to be. I would probably say the Saints game was one of them, but he just has been up and down, honestly. So I would probably say it's not as big of a loss as probably some of our other linemen would have been. I think that there's a guy in Hakeem Adeniji that can come in and play pretty well, which he did last week.
He played in the Super Bowl. That means anything. So it's not like it's not. And one thing that Lyle Collins was doing all year because of the back injury, Adeniji was getting all the first team reps on the rest days or whatever, or the vet days or whatever. So he starts every week in practice at right tackle. From his base and his footwork, I think he's better in pass protection than Lyle Collins. But like Ace was saying, in the run game, Lyle Collins is a monster and he mauls people. He had about like 2 pancakes every game. And one of the things, like if we needed tough yards, like a quick 2 yards, they go run right to that right side with Kappa and Collins on that side. So I don't know how that's going to look, and that's one of the things that I'm really concerned about, I guess, moving forward, because Adeniji isn't a power guy. He's really a pass protector. I'm gonna tell you though, one thing that people aren't talking about in that game is the Bills center, Mitch Morris, Mitch Morris. If he's had a concussion, if he's out at center, and then DJ Reader is now going up against the backup center. I can't see a world, like we just played the Patriots and Ramon Stevenson ran for 175 yards the week prior. We just saw, and then what did he run for, like 30 yards or something in the game? We just saw Nick Chubb, he ran for 30 yards. We just saw Derrick Henry, he ran for 20-something. I cannot see a world where the Bills are going to be able to run the football on DJ Reader and them up front, and the linebackers are able to track. And if you're telling me your backup center is in there and you're not being able to communicate on a lot of the different stunts and stuff that we'll be using, like in conjunction with that I feel like that's the matchup for me. And then their left tackle is the weak link of their offensive line. Spencer Brown, Trey Hendrickson's on that side. I think that's a bigger thing that people are going to find out, or they're going to see that early on. Even though, like I said, in the run game, I am concerned about us running like at least to the right side, but don't be surprised if you see Trey Hendrickson like forcing Josh Allen out of a lot of stuff, and then you got DJ Reader that's just going to be like, look up front. He stuffs. Like you don't get that many successful runs, not in between the guard, the center, or the tackle and the guard.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I mean, you guys are technically fifth in passing, rushing the ball. You guys are 26. You guys are putting up the points, though. You guys are right there with the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills are at 28 points offensively. You guys are averaging about 26 points a game. So this is going to be a real shootout, man. Is there anything else that you should get us ready for the game? I know you guys are probably not ready to give predictions, so we're not going to put you on the spot. Yeah. But I would like to end it with asking you guys rank Joe Burrow on that scale. If you have to reorder it.
I mean, for me, like, I'm not gonna argue with anybody with who they feel are the top quarterbacks. I just feel like Joe Burrow's top 2 and he's not number 2. When I got number 9 at the end of the game and I put the ball in his hands, I know that he's an elite processor. I feel like no one processes football like Joe Burrow pre-snap, what he sees, how fast he reacts, throwing guys open, as Javier talked about earlier. The thing that a lot of people also talk about is the arm strength and stuff, right? I never hear people talking about like the dots that Joe Burrow throws. Like it's like every week it's like what? Like I always go back to the Cleveland game where Jamar Chase wasn't even expecting the ball and Joe Burrow just puts it in a spot where it's just right there in this crazy window. For me, I'm taking number 9, bro, just because I just know that he can take us to the promised land. I've seen it. I know if he just gets the right guys around him that he can raise and elevate guys. We see Trenton Irwin now. This dude has 4 touchdowns. This dude started the year on the practice squad, bro. And now he's out here catching 2 touchdowns against the Patriots, caught a couple on some of the other teams. To me, is Joe Burrow, man. I'm not going to argue with anybody with what their respective order is. But for me, it's Burrow and Mahomes there. I'm going to take my guy with Burrow.
Man, it's tough because if you're saying like who's the more accomplished or something like that, then yeah, you would have Burrow, like, you know. But if I'm starting a team right now, it's Burrow, bro. Like you know what I'm saying? Like Josh Allen, I feel like is a phenomenal quarterback. I feel like all these guys are really good and they're all really good for their team. You know, like when you talk about a top. But they're like you could put Burrow on any of them teams and he would go crazy on those teams. I don't know that 100. I think like Josh, you know, the accuracy stuff I think shows up. You were talking about Prescott earlier, right? The one thing that I know that Prescott is very accurate. People are a fly-by-night type of society that we live in, and they go off of like the last thing that they saw. One of my thresholds is your quarterback must throw for 65%. Or higher.
Yes.
Joe Burrow is always at 70%. He led the league in completion percent. You know who's at 69% currently right now? Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
So now the conversation is now about what do you do in clutch moments? Why did you run right? Why did you run right there? Why did you throw like the decision making late in games that I notice sometimes? Those are the things that we define quarterbacks. And then most quarterbacks, and we look in the history of football on how did you perform in the playoffs. Those are the things. It's not the ability of a Dak Prescott. And just like Burrow, you know, like I think he proved a lot. Once you get past I feel like Burrow's the most accurate quarterback in the football in NFL. Once you get past that, then you start talking playoffs. Then you start talking about decision, clutch factor, all those different things. And when you put all those things together, it always ends up being Burrow for me. And I hate it. You know, I'm a homer, I guess. But it is what it is. It's like if I'm starting a team, like what is the question on Herbert right now? He's got all the abilities in the world, but you worry about the clutch gene. What's the thing with Mahomes in the 3 games that we beat him? He doesn't process the field as well, goes to backyard style football, and go look at the second half of both of those games when we make the adjustments. Go look at Pat Mahomes. If you're telling me like the most elite quarterback in the history of football, show me a game where they got the doors blown off of them 31-9 in a Super Bowl. Like, and look like, I don't care about the offensive line, whatever excuse. Like, show me like the elites, the best of the best, the Dan Marinos. They never look pedestrian like that. And every time that we play Mahomes in the second half of the game, he never adjusts to any of the things when we drop 7 or we show him a 3-1-7 or we showed him a strong 6 looks in the last game or anything that you show him. If you did that to Burrow, he would just cook. He would just come. You might get a successful drive. He will come back and process and then rip your heart out on a big third down. Like Mahomes never did that to me. So maybe my viewpoint or my vantage point is a little bit different, but I just don't think that he processes. I think he has way far better arm talent than Burrow. He can throw from different arm angles that Burrow can't. I think he improvises probably maybe a smidge higher than Burrow. But if you aren't 100%, if you aren't accurate, you can't be it's not sustainable. Like Brady is Brady because he's accurate. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers because he's Aaron. Prescott should be able to play in the league for a long time. He's accurate. But the fly-by-night highlights thing is like driven a lot of people off of some of these things where they're just like, oh, well, I mean, he sucked. He threw 2 picks. Shit, everybody throws picks here and there. Like what was the decision? Did he go through his progressions correctly? Those are the things I'm looking at. So I always pick Burrow in that conversation. But if you told me Mahomes or you told me Josh, or even if you told me like a Lamar or something, I wouldn't even argue with you. I'd be like, hey, for your preference, I feel you, bro.
Hey, I will say this. Did you guys want to say anything to add to that? Because I know they're pressed for time.
I'm about to say I gotta get out of here. But
the one thing I will get to Joe Burrow is that he's number 1 in drip. That is point.
That's important. That's very important.
Hey,
very important.
You got the swag. Hey, good luck to the rest of the season. You said, of course, on YouTube, right? Wincinnati.
We're gonna work with you, Jerry.
Cincinnati.
Because I
want to not Cincinnati, just straight up Wincinnati. Wincinnati Pod is the Twitter. Wincinnati Pod, POD. That's the Twitter. My man Ace right here at New Stripe City is right there in his joint. Same thing on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. That's where everybody can find you guys, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, we appreciate you guys coming on with us. It was fun talking with you guys, Bengals football. Best of luck the rest of the way. Hey, number 1, baby.
Thank you very much for having us, guys.
Yep.
Man.
Keep it real, baby.
Happy holidays.
All right. So let's get right back into business, man. Let's talk football. You guys ready, right? So week 16, man. Those guys were some awesome guests right there.
Yeah, man,
yes,
they
sir.
were.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good luck to them on the rest of the way. So let's talk about it. Where do we leave off, man? Because it was all scattered, right? Because of Christmas Eve and whatnot. Yeah. So happy holidays, right, to all those. Thank you so much for all the continued love and support to East West. But let's get right to it. We Jags Jets, right? Obviously the Jags they came away with that. It was an ugly game. Number 1, right? It was raining. It was ugly.
Yep.
Are the Jets completely out, Kendall?
They're not out, but I do feel that Jaguar loss hurt them. And in terms of being a Patriot fan, I do kind of hope Seattle beats them Sunday or whatnot. It'll push them down a little farther. But I don't believe they're out. Mike White got cleared to play, so he's back in. They're going to have Zach Wilson inactive for the rest of the season or whatnot. Well, for this game, I know. So, yeah, they're not out, but they're hanging on.
Harvey, we've been talking about the Jags are what? They're at top of the AFC South, right now. I believe that they're holding on barely.
I think the Jags win it all, man. I think they take the division, and with the Jets, I think the Jets are done.
Wow,
the Jets are done. When you change quarterbacks so many times, you have nobody knows what's going on in that, other than the defense. That offense, man, I don't think they know who their quarterback is. To be honest.
Not only that, but some people say if you go through that many quarterbacks, you have no business in the playoffs, right?
You don't. And that's my point, man. I just don't think, for me, in my opinion, I think the Jets are done. I think the Jags win the division, but that's just me. Just because of the trend that they're going through, they're just going up, and the momentum. Momentum is everything. And then you had the Titans lose against the Texans. Nah, man, I think the Jags they're going to take it all.
So the next game was Falcons versus Ravens. Ravens won this one 17-9. Man.
Impressive win by the Ravens, man. Impressive without Lamar. Play some good ball. Great win by the Ravens. Falcons, I think, they're eliminated from the playoff. They're not in the picture anymore. Falcons, yeah.
Yep.
What happened to the Lions, man? Lions and Panthers, man. The Panthers are trying to make this late-minute surge, I guess, towards the back end of the season. I was all in on the Lions. I said, you know what? I think the Lions are going to go into the playoffs, but the Lions lost 37-23. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Kendall.
That shocked me because I thought the Lions was going to win. I actually thought Lions was going to win down here in Carolina, but that one kind of shocked me there. It really did. I didn't think that, but it's like the real Detroit Lions showed back up. And get the ball to Jameson Williams, man, down.
No, I think I'm with you too, Kendall. I had no idea that game was going like that at all whatsoever. I would think it'd be somewhat of a close game maybe. But, man, that was a shocker to me. I could not believe – I had to change the channel, man. I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
I mean, Panthers playing some good ball.
They are.
They have an opportunity, right? They are –
Yes, the Panthers do have an opportunity. They actually have the tiebreaker over Tampa Bay right now because they beat Tampa Bay earlier, And now they play. I believe Tampa plays them at the end of the year. I'm sure.
They played this week.
They play this week. So yeah.
Sunday.
So this is a big game, man. This is the game right here because if they beat Tampa, they got the tiebreaker in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so, you're right. Panthers versus Bucks at 12. It's a 12:00 game on Sunday. So yeah, you're right on that one. We had the Seahawks and Chiefs. Of course, Chiefs this is their time of the year. Some would say 24-10. Anybody want to add on that?
Patrick Mahomes.
Enough said, right?
You know what's disappointing for me was Geno Smith was playing so well, man. And he was one of the best quarterbacks probably during week 6, 7. And
it seemed like since they came back from Germany, they've been struggling.
It just went downhill, man. It's kind of weird, but yeah, the Chiefs for sure.
It is a crazy situation. The Saints beat the Browns 17-10, man. Do they have an opportunity? Do the Saints have an opportunity?
They do, yes, but they need some help. But Kendall, come on, man. What is it with these NFC South?
I don't know, man. And everybody's still alive except for the Falcons and whatnot. Who would have thought that? Saints need to. I actually think Carolina's in the best position. They beat Tampa, and the way Tampa played, we get that game in a minute. The way Tampa just played, I think Colt McCoy would have won that game for the Cardinals if he was at and whatnot and playing.
I hate to do this to you, Kendall. Bengals and Patriots. Oh man, we're covering the games right now. Okay, just remember that. Is that a personal shot at you?
No. All I got to say about the game is bad teams will find ways to lose games.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't even have nothing else. You want to hear more about it? Tune in tomorrow night to my show, Ken's Pat Star, on my YouTube. You see it down at the bottom. But bad teams find ways to lose games. Simple as that.
I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. And we've known what's wrong with the Patriots and Bengals right now. I mean, they're red hot right now. How many straight did I say? 7 straight? I believe
seven.
They're right behind the 49ers. 49ers are 8 straight. Giants versus Vikings, 27-24. Both teams once the 2 seed. I believe what was the Giants? Were they the 6th seed?
I know they were the 5th because Washington. No, yeah, they were 6. They were 6.
Because Cowboys are 5th. So, but I mean, Vikings took care of business. Let's move on. Then we had the Bills and Bears. Bills 35, Bears 13. That was another ugly game too. I mean, but some would say this is the weather that you would want, right? For this type of football, right? Football weather. Some would say that. Then we had let's see here. We had we said Bills, Bears, Texans versus Titans. Texans beat the Titans.
Shocking.
Horrible game.
Kind of not shocking. But Tennessee been struggling the past month. So,
what do you see in Tennessee? Kendall, I know me and Harvey were talking about them today, but what do you see in Tennessee? Like, what did they just completely melt down or something?
I think they're too Derrick Henry centric. It's there, and he look like he got a lot of wear and tear on. He's just dragging everything right now. He looks bad. I know his yardage is still looking good, but he's fumbling. He's fumbling the ball. The second straight week or the second straight week he's fumbled or whatnot. So that they need some more playmakers around him. And then they fired the GM a couple weeks ago, and they've been going downhill since then. So bad Titans right now, man. And the division probably done.
And that's why I said Jerry and Kendall. I don't think the Titans are gonna win the division, man. When your offense puts up less than 200 yards, you're not gonna win, man. Especially the way the Jags are playing and their defense is playing. I don't see the Titans making. They can rest all the players they want, but I don't think they're gonna win.
We've always known the Tennessee Titans to be a tough team, especially during this time of the year. So regardless of the situation, we still got to hand it to them. They are still one of them teams that you got to give them respect. And one team that will seems to let off the gas is the Dallas Cowboys, and that's who's facing the Titans on Thursday this week. Commanders versus 49ers, 37-20. Oof.
49ers looking real good. Washington, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
And you know what was shocking to me, Kendall? Me and Jerry talked about this. The Commanders are ranked 4th defensively.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And for Purdy to do that, I don't know, man. It's one of those teams you got to be very careful. The game it was close in the beginning. I was watching it, but they just took away with it, man. That defense just dominated that offense. They had no answer for it. But that quarterback, man, that Niners quarterback, he's playing very well.
But again, a lot of it is masked through what Kyle Shanahan does. He's masked Jimmy G. He's making him look way better. Trey Lance is the one that looks like he's having a hard time grasping the masking that they do. But like I've heard Walter Stringer say, Kyle Shanahan still has a gorilla on his back, right? And that's the Super Bowl gorilla that's been hanging on his back since he was with the Falcons as the OC, and of course the 49ers head coach. So it's going to be kind of hard. I mean, I love the defense that the 49ers have, but it's hard. It's only a matter of time before defenses can find a way to get to the rookie, whether it be psyche or mentally, physically or mentally. Eagles and Cowboys. What do you think? I mean, you don't have to ask me.
Go ahead, Kendall.
I think that game.
Wait, man.
I think the game came down to that. I want to say, was it 3rd and 30? 3rd and 30. It came. Eagles was up by 10 twice, I believe. I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I'm not correct, but they was up by 10 twice. They blew it. I think they let it slip away or whatnot. I do think the Cowboys played great down the stretch or whatnot with Dak Prescott, and my guy CeeDee Lamb played real good. But 3rd and 30. How did you get it up on 3rd and 30? I don't. That hurt right there. And then I think Minshew threw the pick. They fumbled. And while they was up by 10, so twice, the Eagles could have blew this game off the door, blew the doors off the Cowboys. But turnovers, and I've seen people say that if Jalen Hurts played it, no, because Jalen Hurts don't play defense. Last time I checked, and Dak Prescott was carving that defense. Jalen Hurts does not play defense, so yeah, probably the turnovers probably wouldn't happen, but there's still he don't play defense, so it won't go slow that down.
Yeah, thank you for you saying that instead of it coming from me, Harry, because they would be biased, right? But I'll tell you this, the love and the hate is real, man. I don't know what's up with Philly. I heard you guys have some nice cheesesteaks. That I would like to go visit. Now that I've already pledged my allegiance to the Cowboys and we have the Cowboy cast, I don't know how I feel about going to Philly right now. I'll tell you that much right now.
I'm not scared.
Well, I mean, I'm not scared either, but I mean, it's not the city of brotherly love. I'll tell you that much right now. Because I'll tell you this, they pulled out the excuse list, and man, it looked like Santa's naughty list. I'll tell you that much.
It was long, Kendall.
Long. But let's get right to it. Raiders and Steelers. Very close, ugly game, right? I guess 13-10.
Steelers won, and Franco Harris, we talked about that on the last pod. Rest in peace to him and whatnot. But Steelers won that one for Franco Harris, and they played some great ball. George Pickens with the game-sealing touchdown.
Let me ask you, Kendall, what do you think the Raiders need to do? Because it looked like they had all the pieces in place. It looked like they were trying to make a push. What do you think the Raiders need to do to turn this thing around, or do you think they got to just tear it down and rebuild?
I think first and foremost they got to get the quarterback. I think Derek Carr. We've been hearing for years that this might be his last year. This might be his last year. So they got to get that figured out. His future, his fate there. They got some nice weapons. You got Devontae Adams. He's still like 29, 30 years old. You got Waller. Get that contract thing worked out. Hunter Renfrow come back if he can stay healthy. They got some guys and whatnot. I know Josh Jacobs. I think he's a free agent after the season. Maybe they re-sign him or whatnot. It didn't start on the defense too. You got your two red edge rushers. You got Chandler. You got Crosby. Get that secondary fixed up, some more speed at linebacker, and I think the Raiders will be okay. They're not far off. I just think a lot of issues are like in their front office, play calling, and that quarterback and whatnot. A little bit on defense, but I think they'll be fine once they show up a few things and whatnot. It's a quick fix for the Raiders.
Awesome. That's good to hear for them. And the Steelers, of course, we already know they're in the rebuild. I mean, they got Kenny Pickett. George
still in the playoff picture, though. Still in the playoff picture.
And George Pickens looks good, man. That rookie wide receiver?
Yeah.
Wow. I think a lot of teams kind of slept on him. Packers and Dolphins, believe it or not. Packers, I mean, it looked at one point, it looked like the Dolphins looked red hot, and then I don't know what happened after that.
I think Green Bay gets that final spot. Because if you look they got Minnesota at home and they got Detroit at home. Detroit, they took a step back playing the Panthers. The Vikings defense can't stop a nosebleed. Hey, I hope they might. I got a feeling they might slip up though with one of them games, but it's looking good for Green Bay.
Kendall, if you could give your month's paycheck that Green Bay gets in, you give your month's paycheck.
Yes, I would, without shadow of a doubt. Green Bay gets in there.
That's a bold.
Okay, Kendall.
Gets in there. They get in there. Just off the simple fact, Aaron Rodgers, he's on a mission. He's motivated. They won 3 straight, and all they need to win these 2 divisional games. I think they need Washington to lose 1 game, and Washington got the Cowboys. I don't know who Washington played this week, but I don't know they got the Cowboys to finish out. Now, who knows what the Cowboys do that game if they rest? Because the Cowboys at the 5 spot, they probably don't really got to do anything. But Washington only needs to lose one game, and Green Bay, of course, got to win out. I think Green Bay gets, and guess what? And I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it all the way up until they get eliminated. Don't nobody want Green Bay to get that 7th seed. Nobody.
Yeah, Washington plays the Browns. So
where's that game? That's in Cleveland.
It's in Washington.
Okay. Tough game.
And then you got the Colts playing the Giants in New York.
Off what we saw, I know we'll talk about this game shortly, but off what we just saw last night, I don't know too much about
it. Does that show us that the Dolphins are not who we think they are, Kendall?
The Dolphins?
Yes, because I mean, like I said, they look like they were coming off to a red hot start in that game, and then it just looked like I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, Kendall. I think the Niners baptized him. Ever since then, man, he hadn't been right.
Tua's been struggling, and I mean, whether it's bad weather or good weather here, it was hot as it was warm, and they say it was kind of chilly in Miami the other day, but he's been bad this past month. He's been bad. So I mean, maybe that MVP or Pro Bowl snub. It looks good right now because he's been terrible. And I hope physically he gets back right or whatnot. I know they got to play the Patriots Sunday, but I think in turn, this is another conversation for another day. But in terms of health-wise, I think they should sit Tua out the rest of the year and just go into the offseason and let him just weigh his options, man. Because right now, it's not about football. It's not about wins and losses. It's about his health and long term. I think he should sit out the rest of the year.
Yeah, he needs to protect himself if he wants to play football. I mean, that looks ugly. And anytime he goes down with a concussion, never looks good. So, prayers out to him. Broncos at Rams. Can you believe the Rams put up a 50-burger against the Broncos defense? 51-14, man.
And we got the head coach fired too.
Yeah. Do you think what was going on in the sideline? Do you think that's what got the coach fired? Because that was ugly with Brett Rippon getting into it with who was it? Dalton Reisner and the shoving match between the two, and then Russell coming out. I mean, it looked like a mess, man. The Broncos are a mess. Let's not get into it. Yeah. Two bad teams played against each other, but whatever. Then you had the Bucks. You had the Buccaneers 19, Cardinals 16. The Buccaneers found a way, but I mean, it's kind of hard with who was it? McSorley.
Tampa, but they are lucky. They are in this NFC South division because, like I just said earlier, if Colt McCoy played, Cardinals win that game. I only think it's close. They just needed to make a few first downs along the way, and they win that game. It wouldn't even got to where it got to, but got to overtime and whatnot. But that's bad, man. They lucky. Big game for Tampa Sunday against Carolina.
It almost feels like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers always find the luck in these games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what these guys did.
Hey, that luck's gonna run out, man. It's gonna run out. I promise you.
You can't keep hanging on by a thread like that, man. You can't wait. You can't wait the 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter or in overtime like we just seen to do that. You can't. I know you can't do that, man. The better teams, it's not going to happen. You'll be out by halftime.
Yep.
Chargers clinched 20-3 against the Colts.
Ooh.
We didn't see that happening, did we, Kendall?
I've seen I thought the coach would upset the Chargers because the Chargers have been known to put up some bad performances or whatnot. But good Chargers, go Chargers, go Chargers. They play some good ball right now.
And then, of course, this Thursday we got the Cowboys versus Titans, and this is going to be at Tennessee for those Cowboys. it's unfamiliar waters for the Cowboys because they haven't really been, a team that faces off against Tennessee. I guess Kendall. I mean, me and Harvey will probably leave our predictions till Thursday, but I mean, what is it that you want to see in this matchup, if anything?
Can the Dallas Cowboys finish a game against an AFC South opponent? The Colts, they struggled with to start the game. Colts took the lead for a little bit. We all know what happened. The Texans almost lost that game. The Jacksonville, we don't want to go into that conversation, but that happened a couple weeks ago. And now you got the Titans. Another AFC South. The AFC South has given the Cowboys problems this year. I don't know if they just don't get up for it or what, but I would like to see Dallas come out and blow the doors off a reeling Tennessee Titans team that seems like they've already melted in for the year and waiting for the offseason. And then you're starting a rookie quarterback. Come on, Dallas. Don't fall for the trap. Go in there, punch him in the mouth, put the game in Malik Will's hand. And just, they go against Derek, crack the box. Put 8, 9, 10 men in the box. Start Derrick Henry. Get on. You have an extra few days to rest up for to go to Washington. So that's what I want to see from Dallas. Don't fall for the trap. Just beat them. Just beat Tennessee. Put them away.
So Harvey, do you have I guess a look at who has clinched the playoffs? Just so we can kind of go through that little rundown before we end the show, because I believe that's it for us today here on East West.
Yeah, so real quick breakdown. The AFC is the Bills obviously have clinched, the Chiefs have clinched, the Bengals have clinched, the Ravens have clinched, and the Los Angeles Chargers have clinched. So there's 2 more playoff spots open. So we still got the Jags, the Dolphins. Technically, if it would end today, they would be in. But the Patriots, man, the Patriots are still on the bubble. The Jets are still in the bubble. The Titans, the reason the Titans are is because if they lose this game against the Cowboys and then they beat the Jags at the end of the year, they're in, man. So it's a big game, that last game. The NFC, we got obviously the Eagles clinch a playoff, the Vikings, the 49ers, the Cowboys. And then we have the Bucks still in it, Giants, Washington. And then on the bubble, you got Seahawks, Lions, and Packers, and everybody else. But Seahawks and Lions and Packers are really the ones that are on the bubble. The Buccaneers still need to win the NFC South. And then obviously the Giants of Washington at 6 and 7. So still a lot of football to play, man. 2 more games to decide 3 more playoff berths in the NFC and then 2 more on the AFC.
It's crazy, right, Kendall? It's already. I mean, Harvey, Kendall. It's crazy how the NFL regular season is already coming to a wrap, man. Literally 2 weeks away, and we're in the playoffs. I just want to clarify: Cowboys are 3-3 versus the Tennessee Titans, and vice versa. Tennessee's 3-3, so they're tied right now. So this game has some meaning, and like
I think the last time they played, they lost. It was on Monday Night Football. Amari Cooper first year. Am I correct?
Yes, it was November 5th, 2018. The Tennessee Titans 28, Cowboys 14.
I remember that because that's the game Amari Cooper hit Malcolm Butler with a nasty zig route scored on. I remember that. But just to put out there. But
Yeah. Just so you guys know, if you guys are not following Kendall on all his social media platforms, you guys are missing out. This guy's a gem. He's a freaking NFL almanac. I'm telling you, man. I have to look this stuff up. This guy has it all in his mind, man. But that's it for East West football, man. Did you guys want to add anything else?
Make sure y'all go subscribe, man. Ken's Pat Talk on YouTube. New show tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern.
Yeah, man. It's simple, right? You just follow Kendall on his social media platforms. He has the link in his bios. Go subscribe. Also, the same thing goes for the Cowboy Cast. It's easy. The Cowboy Cast, and that's on all social media platforms. Go and subscribe. Of course, subscribe to the East West Football, baby. This is Sports Center, but at its finest, man. We all come together and we bring our sports minds together and we talk football. Thank you so much. Go Cowboys. And if not, what is it? Will it be the New Year's when we get to recap? No, we'll probably meet New Year's Eve, right?